Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. And we are meeting once again with lecture 22 of Business English. Well, in today's lecture, we are going to continue with our talk based on proposal writing. Proposal writing we are discussing as an aspect of research process that we started with our discussion based on report writing. So, today's talk is going to be another part of the series based on report writing. Well, in today's discussion, we will bring in our detailed discussion about the common section inside a proposal that will involve the discussion based on title page, abstract, table of contents, introduction, body, conclusion, and all the inside headings, major headings of the proposal as a document, as a technical document. We will also bring in, inshallah, the discussion about appendixes, what can be add into appendixes. We will involve in our discussion the concerns about organization and format, and we will also talk about the cover for the proposal document, that can be a cover letter or a cover memo. And the writing workshop will enable you to cross all these steps with me when you are proposing, a plan, and when you are documenting your proposal. So let's start with today's talk, and first of all we will just quickly go through the common sections we can propose in a proposal. Well, I mentioned this in the previous lecture, and I repeat the same thing, so you can refresh your understanding and you can link up the information. A general outline of the proposal should be adapted and modified according to the needs of the readers and the demand of the topic proposed. For example, long complicated proposals might contain all the following sections. However, in contrast, shorter or simple proposals might contain only some of the sections or the main ones. So starting with the proposal, the very first page is going to be your title page. So specific formats for title pages vary from one proposal to another, from one situation to another, according to your audience needs, according to your project needs. But most include the following details, and these are the title of proposal has to be short and informative, as short as possible, as informative as possible. It should discuss about the delimitation of your study. A reference number for the proposal. A proposal needs to have some significant reference number that can help us identify if you have to locate one proposal out of many. The name of the potential funder, the recipient of the proposal, whosoever is going to read is the direct audience and is going to take decision on that. The proposal's date of submission, when the proposal is submitted, it becomes a part of the system, and the signature of the project director and responsible administrator or administrators in the proposer's institution or company. If it's a representation of an individual's effort, individual has to be there as the project signatory, or if it is representation of an organization or institute and a team of members is working for that, then again you will have signatory or signatories there. Then the second important concern and a very important section of a proposal, we have discussed this in the previous section in quite detail and length, and I repeat once again that abstract keeps a significant role in proposal to play because it catches the audience. So the abstract is very important part of the proposal because it provides a short overview and summary of the entire proposal. The abstract of the proposal is short and often 200 words or less, and in a short proposal addressed to someone within the writer's institution, the abstract may be located on the title page. However, in a longer version, in a longer form document, the abstract will usually occupy a separate page by itself following the title page. The abstract should briefly define the problem and its importance, and the objectives of the project, the method of evaluation, and the potential impact of the project. Now let's have a word about the detailed contents, table of contents. The table of contents as a heading contains a list of sections inside the proposals. It may have major sections, major headings, subheadings of the proposal, and the page numbers where you can directly locate those particular headings. And then after that we move on to the introductory part of your proposal, and in introductory part the very first heading that we provide is the introduction. Now introduction is basically you need to plan the introduction to your proposal very carefully, because when you are doing that, make sure it does all of the following things that I'm going to discuss with you, but not necessarily in this order. You can change order, you can bring an innovation in the order, then this change will again be to suit the need of your audience and of your topic that you are discussing. However, the application of these headings will be according to the particulars of proposal if it is necessary. You need to indicate that the document to follow is a proposal. You need to tell your readers that it's a plan to be a plan for the action. You need to refer to some previous contact with the recipient of the proposal or to your source of information about the project. Find one brief motivating statement that will encourage the recipient to read on and to consider doing the project. Give an overview of the contents of the proposal. And this takes you to the next section, next heading, that is about the background. As I discussed it before, and I bring it again here, that sometimes the introduction involves the background, and it introduces the topic, grounding it in the background of the problem. However, many a times background of the problem is a separate heading in the proposals. Often occurring just after the introduction. So the background section discusses that what has brought about the need for the project, what provoked you to take up this idea to the course of action, what problem is there, what opportunity there is for improving things, and what the basic situation is. It's true that the audience of the proposal may know the problem very well, in which case this section might not be needed. However, writing the background section might be useful, because in demonstrating your particular view of the problem, this is going to work as a kind of platform on which you can build up your point of view. And if the proposal is unsolicited, then this section background is almost a requirement, because your reader and audience might not be aware of the problem, might not be aware of all the aspects of the problem, and might not be aware of the intensity of the problem. So you will probably need to convince the audience that the problem or opportunity exists and that it should be addressed. Now, benefits and feasibility of the proposed project. Well, most proposals discuss the advantages or benefits of doing the proposed project. This acts as an argument in favor of approving the project. Also, some proposals discuss the likelihood of the project's success. In the unsolicited proposals, this becomes a major concern. This section is particularly important because this plays a significant role in convincing and persuading your audience. Most proposals must describe the finished product of the proposal project. In this course, that means describing the written document you propose to write its audience, and providing an outline, discussing such things as its length, graphics, and so on. Now, a word about methods, procedures, and the theory that you use as a framework of your work. In most proposals, well, you'll want to explain how you'll go about doing the proposed work. You would like to talk about your plan of action, what tasks you are going to do in order to achieve your objectives and eventually the goal. However, if approved to do so. This acts as an additional persuasive element. It shows the audience you have a sound, well thought out approach to the project, and you have your homework done, and you know how many angles are there that you need to focus on, and how many things that you'll be taking care of, and then you can also predict the problems that can come up, and you always have a backup plan to deal with those problems and issues. So it basically convinces your readers that you are well prepared to take up this project. Also, it serves as the other form of background some proposals need. Now remember that the background section, the one discussed before, focuses on the problem or need that brings about the proposal, that basically initiates the need of bringing this idea on the paper. However, in this section, you discuss the technical background relating to the procedures or technology you plan to use in the proposed work. Now, a word about schedule. Most proposals basically contain a section that shows not only the projected completion date, but also key milestones for the project. If you are doing a large project spreading over many months, the timeline will also show dates on which you would deliver progress reports. So it will give an idea to the reader that you have a record and you have planned your things according to if they have any timeline need, you have taken care of that, or if they have not provided any, you being an individual have a sense of commitment to time, and you have a timeline to carry your projects, and you are kind of organized person who would like to take things according to the planning. And if you can't cite specific dates, cite amount of time or time spans for such phase of the project. For example, if I cannot talk about the date or the month I will be able to complete this work by, I can talk about how long this will take, maybe a week's time or 3 weeks time or a month's time or maybe 6 months time. So because at times it happens that you're not sure about when date you are going to start your work. Since the date, you cannot really mark the date when you're starting it, you cannot count days after that, or you can count weeks after that, because the marking date is still ambiguous. So what you do here is you try to bring in and state the span of time and the length of time that you are going to use for this particular task. So this is another way of mentioning your time. Now, qualifications, this is very important too, because most proposals contain a summary of the proposing individuals or organizations' qualifications to do the proposal work. It is again a convincing aspect for your proposal, because if you qualify to be the one of the candidates, then you cannot be ignored. If you possess the expertise, your qualifications, your experience, everything is supporting an excellent planned out proposal, then there are the chances of you getting selected are always there, and more comparatively in a situation where you do not provide a word about your qualification and your expertise that enable you to be a suitable candidate for this job that you are offering for. Now, it's like a mini resume. At times you attach your resume, however, at times you modify your resume to suit the needs of the cover you need to provide for your qualification. And this mini resume contains the information that is required for you to convince your reader for you to be considered for this job or work or task. The proposal audience uses it to decide whether you are suited for the project or not. At times, just this idea becomes the difference of between two or more candidates. Well, maybe for one project that is of high importance, if there are 5 candidates, they all would have come forward with excellent work plans. So if this only qualifications can be one aspect to mark the difference between one another, and Somebody who is qualified, experienced, and possess expertise for the task will definitely be preferred on the one who is novice or who is new to the field, no matter that he has a wonderful plan, but since he does not possess the experience and expertise and maybe the qualification, always the other person will be preferred on the new one, unless there are agendas to support innovation or creativity or newness. A usual practice is that it impacts the mention of your expertise qualification, impacts the decision in your favor. Therefore, this section lists work experience, similar projects that you have taken in past, and provides references, people who can speak for you or the work you've already done. Talk about training that you have gone through, and if training is directly related to the task that you are going to do, again it's going to be a plus point. And education, of course, that shows familiarity with the project and theoretical theories and approaches. Now, the cost, resources required is going to be another major section of your proposal, because here you provide the budget summary. Most proposals also contain a section detailing the costs of the project, whether internal or external. With external projects, you may need to list your hourly rates and projected hours and cost of equipment and supplies and so forth, and then calculate the total cost of the complete project. However, with internal projects, these probably won't be a free, but you should still list the project costs. For example, hours you will spend or need to complete the project, equipment and supplies that you will be using, assistance from other people, the time that other people are giving to your work. So anything that causes any change in the routines inside the company is again going to be a cost that you are paying for the completion of the project. So it has to be mentioned clearly. So later on, if your proposal is accepted, you can make a point and refer to your needs and requirements whenever you are asking for it. So asking for a need does not become a favor if it is already mentioned in your proposal right in the beginning. All right, so after a discussion about cost, resources required, we are moving on to the conclusion section. The final paragraph or section of the proposal should bring readers back to a focus on the positive aspects of the project. You've just showed them the cost, so you can now go to the conclusion, what they are going to get after spending this money. In the final section, you can end by arguing them to get in touch to work out the details of the project, to remind them of the benefits of doing the project, and maybe to put in one last plug for you or your organization as the right choice for the project. One important thing is appendixes. Now, what do we attach in appendix? These appendixes are supplementary material that is collected and appended at the end of a proposal. Should be devoted to those aspects of your project that are of secondary interest to the reader. However, you cannot ignore them. Begin by assuming that the reader will only have a short time to read your proposal, and it will only be the main body of your proposal, not the appendixes. Well, then assume that you have gotten the attention of the reader who would now like some additional information. This is the purpose of the appendices, that you attach the information there to support and substantiate your ideas that you provide. Now, here are some possible sections to include in the appendixes. Appendixes then can have further sections inside. You can have a dissemination plan. It's an important aspect of your proposal. Will be the plan for disseminating information, or how you from the project to other audiences, how you will disseminate it. And most funding agencies, they are interested in seeing how their financial support of your project will extend to other audiences and how they are going to be benefited in the larger picture. This may include newsletters, workshops, radio broadcasts, presentations, printed handouts, slideshows, training programs, and etc. If you have an advisory group involved with your project, they can be very helpful in disseminating project information to other audiences. Now, the timeline is a clear indication of the time frame for the project and the times when each aspect of the project will be implemented. So, try creating the timeline as a graphic representation. Not too many words should be over there, because your message is to conveying the target date and target span of time that you will be using to complete one aspect. So, try to go for the medium that suits your need and is able to convey the meaning and message clearly. If done well, it will help demonstrate the feasibility of the project in a very, very visible way. Now, letters of support. When we discussed the item of letter as an important document, business technical document, we discussed that there are certain documents for which letter serves to be a wrapper, a cover. So, funding agencies would like to know that others feel strongly enough about your project that they are willing to write a letter in support of the project. So these, you can have reference letter for your project. This can be your ex-supervisor, this can be your immediate boss, this can be anybody who can really refer to and can be a true witness to your capabilities, your skills, or your research that you have already gone through for this project. You talk through with the potential letter writers the sort of focus that you think will be important for their letter. So you always talk to your writer who is going to write the reference for you and tell him what area do you want him or her to focus for your support. Basically, it's a kind of support letter. Now, try and draw on the reputation of the letter writing group, because do not get pushed into writing the letters for the agencies. They will all sound alike and will probably defeat your purpose of using them. The letters must be substantiative. If not, do not use them. Have the letter addressed directly to the funding agency. Do not use a general to whom it may concern approach letter. It makes it appear that you are applying to many different potential funding agencies and are using the same letter for each. This may really be the case, so make sure you personalize each letter to the specific potential funding agency. Now, a word about the organization of proposal, because this is our concern being a technical writer. As for the organization of the contents of a proposal is concerned, remember that it is essentially a sales or promotional kind of thing. Here are the basic steps it goes through. You introduce the proposal, telling the readers its purpose and contents. Then what you're supposed to do next? Well, you present the background, the problem. You talk about the opportunity that you want to take and avail, or situation that brings about the proposed project. Get the reader concerned about the problem. Ask them, try to catch their attention, try to involve them. Excited about the opportunity, try to excite them about the opportunity as you are, or develop interest for them in the situation in some way. Because if you're not able to develop their interest and their excitement and involve them, you won't be able to persuade them and convince them to agree with your point of view. State what your purpose to do about the problem is. What are you proposing? How you plan to help the readers take the advantage of the opportunity, and how you intend to help with the situation. Now, discuss the benefits of doing the proposed project, the advantages that come from approving it, and describe exactly what the completed project would consist of, what it would look like, how it would work. Describe the results of the project. Discuss the method and theory or approach behind that method, and enable readers to understand how you'll go about the proposed work. Now, provide a schedule including major milestones or checkpoints in the project. Briefly list your qualifications for the project and provide a mini resume of the background you have that makes you right for the project. now and only now list the cost of the project, the resources you'll need to do the project. Conclude with a review of the benefits that you are providing to the supporting agencies, and in case the shock from the cost section was too much, this section will cover up that shock that you are paying back the cost. Now, we use separate and various format for the proposals. You have the following options for the format and packaging of your proposal if it is an unsolicited proposal, because we discussed earlier that solicited tasks are they always have templates to follow and they always have standards to follow. However, if you do not have, you can always go for the one that is current in the market. It does not matter which you use, as long as you use the memorandum format for internal proposals and the business letter format for external proposals. These are two standard situation-based formats that we use most of the time. Now, cover letter with separate proposal. In this format, you write a brief cover letter and attach the proposal proper after it. The cover letter briefly announces that a proposal follows and outlines the contents of it. In fact, the contents of the cover letter are pretty much the same as the introduction of your proposal. However, there should not be repetition or a duplication. Look at the proposal to develop a guideline, and there are two proposals that you can see on the screen. And let us have a discussion on it. So look at the Morris Business Consultants cover letter that is addressing the Dear Mr. McMurray. Well, I enjoyed meeting with you this past Monday, May 21st, concerning your interest in a manual on how to write policies and procedures. Look at the very first sentence. It does not only provide a reference, it only talks about the agenda of the meeting that had been held. Local area business do need help in this very important area of their operations. Then the need of having this work done. With the lack of good practical guides available commercially, developing and making one available through the chamber will serve a great need. Now, what you are going to serve, this is what you are going to serve. The attached proposal outlines the details of our conversation concerning the contents of the guide, cost schedules, and so forth. So now you talk about what the attached document is offering. I've added my qualifications for review by your other colleagues. So you then again attach a review or picture of your qualifications suitable for the purpose. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me at this number during business hours. Respectfully, and your address and your attachment or enclosure. So look how the proposal cover letter announces what is coming, why it is coming, and why are you sending this proposal. If there's a reference to provide, you provide the reference. Now, cover memo with separate proposals. In this format, you write a brief cover, it's a kind of memo, and attach the proposal proper after it. The cover memo briefly announces that a proposal follows and outlines the contents of it. In fact, the contents of the cover memo are pretty much the same as the introduction. The proposal proper that repeats much of the words in the cover memo. This is because the memo may get detached from the proposal, or the reader may not even bother to look at the memo and just dive right into the proposal itself. Now, business letter proposal is a third form of proposal. In this format, you put the entire proposal within a standard business letter. You include headings and other spatial formatting elements as if it were a report. This format is illustrated in the following exercise. All right, so Memo proposal in this format, as we have discussed, that you include the entire proposal within a standard office memorandum, and you include headings and other special formatting elements if it were a report. However, in letter format, you use a proper formal business letter format. Now look at this business letter format used by an independent consulting engineer. Notice how he's adding or his headings are used to indicate major sections. Look at the headings. Now look at the introductory paragraph. It refers to a previous contact, reminds the reader of the topic of the meeting, indicates that this is a purpose, state the purpose, and gives an overview of the proposed contents. All right. Now look at the first main section focuses on the situation that brought about the need for the proposed project. These lines which say that the excuse me, the following proposal details this problem, outlines the orientation manual I propose to write, and discuss the time and other resources I'll need to get the job done. And now look at the last section, background section. It is memorandum format used for internal proposal. Notice that the headings are still used to block out major sections of the discussion. So this can be one model that you can analyze in detail to enrich your understanding. Now, a checklist for your proposal. As you reread and revise your proposal, understanding the notes that you have taken during the lecture, having your analysis done, watch out for problems such as the following. Problems are always there, and the technical effective writer is who is able to solve these problems. So make sure you use the right format. You are consistent with the format, you're not switching. Remember, the memo format is for internal proposal, the business letter format is for proposal written from one external organization to another, and whether you use a cover memo or cover letter, it is your choice. Now write a good introduction, impressive and effective. State that this is a proposal and provide an overview of the contents of the proposal. Make sure to identify exactly what you are proposing to do. Don't make it a ambiguous statement. State it clearly what is on offer. Make sure that a report, a written document, is somehow involved in the project you are proposing to do. Remember that in this course we are trying to do two things: writing a proposal and plan a term project report. So report writing is our concern, and proposal writing and going through the research process are basically the attached discussions that we are doing in order to learn how to write a report. Make sure the sections are in a logical, natural order. For example, don't hit the audience with schedules and costs before you have gotten them interested in that particular section. So for each section, first of all, develop your background and design a platform. Then you hit the platform and offer what readers are expecting now and they are ready to read. Break out the cost section into specifics, include hourly rates and other such details. Don't just hit them with a whopping big final cost. For internal projects, don't omit the section on cost and qualifications. They will be cost, just not direct ones. For example, how much time will you need? Will there be printing, binding cost? Include your qualifications. Imagine your proposal will go to somebody in the organization who doesn't know you. Now, well, after this detailed discussion, I hope you're ready to have a workshop on proposal writing and you are ready to write one proposal with me. All right, get started and let's see what we can do together. Well, first of all, make sure that whatever you have in your mind to make your proposal for, you have to make these contents, and you have to look for these contents and research about them. Look at the larger context of your problem that you want to offer a solution for. Getting a topic, a crystal clear topic that fairly talks about what is on offer, what you're offering. Then finding a home, situate your problem into a background, write the summary. Well, this is a very important point. Although writing a summary comes in the beginning on the list, however, summaries are written in the end, because summary basically summarizes the whole thing. Unless you've gone through the whole, you cannot write a summary. So although summary is written by the end of the proposal, but it comes in the beginning. Intellectual merits and broader impact statements. Talk about ethics that you are going to involve in your work, the supplementary things, all the supplements, the cost, equipments, the progress you are going to state if you are going to offer them some progress reports, the highlights that you are going to offer to your readers, and then getting them involved in your project. So let's talk about the larger context first. How can I build up a larger context for my business proposal? We look for proposals. We appreciate proposals that are innovative and push the frontiers of knowledge. Something innovative, something creative. They contribute to national needs and priorities, and they go beyond marginalized, templates, and they integrate well with educational goals, or the academic goals, or the professional goals, or whatsoever our goals are, and they involve real field research. Well, you do not support, except as incidental to the research goals of the research, developmental efforts, computer programming, design of commercialization. So you need to know the company you are going to propose to, what kind of traditions are followed by the company. Is it a education institute, or a professional institute, or a governmental agency, or a non-governmental organization, non-profit organization? So whatsoever are traditions, you need to follow them in order to win their will. Now, your strategic plan. A strategic plan has 3 parts. Where are you today? Where do you want to be in the future? The timeline that you provide in 5 days, 5 months, 5 weeks. How do you get from here to there? What is your plan of action? So this is the strategic plan triangle. If you are able to work this triangle, you are basically ready to hit your proposal writing. A strategic plan is a roadmap for your life. You have a strategic plan for your life. You have a strategic plan for your job. You have a strategic plan for your career. You must have a strategic plan for your proposal writing. It's a roadmap that tells the reader where from you will start, where you are right now, and what is your destination, where you want to reach, and how will you reach there. What will be your course of action. Now, your proposal should advance you toward your life goals, toward your goals of your task, should be a stepping stone to the next thing that you are going to do. Should be compatible with your institution's goal. Whosoever you are submitting this proposal to, it should be compatible. And how will you know that this is compatible? For that, you have to go through a lot of research, a lot of homework. You need to know about the company, the needs that your audience have. So we go back to the audience needs and audience study and audience reading. Your proposal should represent a contribution to society at large. So if you accomplished your research objectives, you are better off for the effort. You need to know if you are meeting the needs of the objectives. What can be the initiatives? Well, English language, that is the official language in Pakistan, and it's a lingua franca of the world nowadays. Most of the work related to business and related to international and national projects are embedded in this medium nowadays. So if you are going to write a proposal, make sure that you have grasp over the language skills required for the purpose. An initiative is right for you if it's your topic, you're already working in the field, it fits you with strategic plan, you contribute through your collaboration, and your language skills are appropriate to include all this into a medium that is demanded by the decision-making authority. Be sure to read the announcements for what it says, not what you want it to say. Well, whenever you are answering to some solicited project, look at the advertisement, look at the announcement, read it and understand it thoroughly. Do not try to understand what you want to understand, but try to go deep inside the call and find out what is required. So instead of following your own perceptual screens, try to synthesize and analyze what the call is about and if you can answer it or not. Never ever step into a territory with which you are not familiar. Your funding base. Well, your funding base should not be the sole source of funding for your research. Your internal proposal, well, do not try to approach your funding base if you have doubts that they will not be able to fund you or they do not have funds. Always make your best, take your best and do a best shot for the thing that you are yourself convinced for. If you're not convinced for something, don't go for it. You always should know the different funding sources, the potential funding sources for your research area. So if one does not work, you can always have a backup plan to work on. There are some do's and there are some don'ts. You need to be very particular about them. You need to have a strategic plan. You need to build your own strengths. You need to differentiate this proposal from your, or any article or PhD thesis. A working proposal and other sponsored work or article writing or essay writing are different types of writing. So you need to get into this format to produce your proposal. Perform through literature search and exploratory search before writing the proposal, as we have discussed in research process. This thing we have discussed quite in length and detail. All journal articles, all the grant proposal guides, if they are available by the agency you are working for, by the institute you are going to work for, or if it's a unsolicited proposal, go and get relevant literature, read it, and then you are ready to write your own ideas. Establish and keep your context. So in business it is very important to keep your public relationing, because it helps you to be in the system, to know the system, and to address the system. As some do's, there are some don'ts too. Do not rush. Don't make hasty decisions. Write, rewrite, redraft, revise, and edit. All the time you are, in a circular motion when you are preparing for your proposal. Wait until the last minute. 1 month to contact program directors. Do not make hasty decisions. In business, you have to rationalize your decisions. You have to base your decisions on logic. You shouldn't be emotional. Your decision should not be based on emotions and the way you feel like. Yes, intuition is there, but your intuition should follow the logical and rational analysis that you do before taking up an action. Make the proposed work research and education based, and make the proposed work, do not make proposed work too narrow. It has to have its due circumference to move around. Do not ask for too much money or too little money. Always be justified. Whatever you are asking for, you should know how you have to justify it. You cannot ignore the rules set by the company who you are writing to. So abide by the rules and regulations. So there are some very quick bullets of the basics that we've already discussed. And before we move on to next section, it's important to refresh them. When you are writing a proposal, keep in mind that you're not writing for yourself, or you're not writing for your friends. You're writing for the one who is going to read it. So you should address the one by all means. Your proposal will be judged by the reviewers. Never ever keep this comfort zone in your mind that, well, it'll be accepted, just like that. And reviewer wants to know things. Are you addressing all these things in your proposal? What is it about? How will you do it? Can you do it? Do you have skills? Is it worth doing? Is it worth giving money? This is basically all the proposals need to convey, but it needs to convey this. Alright, well, at times it's very difficult to get a research topic in case where it is unsolicited. Well, research topic, whenever you are, or if it's a solicited task, you get confused about what type of research topic should it be, because that's the title of your study and it has to be attractive, but don't try to be wordy in selecting your research topic. It should clearly mirror and reflect your concerns that you have to address in your proposal. So it must be research oriented. It must not have been done before. If you are using already done projects title, then it may not have that originality and innovative thing attached to it, the X factor that the decision makers are looking for. It must be significant. It has to be worthy enough to pay attention to. They must be higher than probability 0 that you can do it. It must lend itself to a viable research plan. You must have the facilities to accomplish the result and research, and it should fit into your strategic plan. I am giving particular attention to this terminology, strategic planning, because we are dealing with business world that is all the time revolving around strategic plans. Now, what groundwork do I need to do before I take up a project? Well, do you know in your field what is the current state of the art? Whatsoever field is yours, whether it's pure business or it's a semi-business field or it's whatever you are going to work for. Do you know who are the top 10 researchers in your field? Maybe national, maybe community-based, maybe officials, maybe in your city, in your country, or internationally. What they are doing right now, the projects they are working on, where they get their funding from, what they consider to be the key research issues, who would likely review your proposal, how much money is available for a grant like this, what the grant opportunities are. Unless there are real grant opportunities, do not waste your time. So, just a quick refresher of what we have discussed so far, considering the research cycle, because research is the process that involves proposal writing as well as the report writing. So it's a process of finding out something that we don't already know, or maybe we want to know about more. Scientific research builds upon the extent knowledge base, and it is methodical, repeatable, and verifiable. Methodical means that you can specify in advance a procedure to accomplish your stated objectives. Now, exactly what will your research contribution to the knowledge base? If you are able to answer this question, you know about your research area. Now, what are the research objectives? The research objective is a concise statement of what you intend to find out that we don't already know. So if after reading your proposal you are asked, or maybe during the research proposal presentation you're asked, well, yes, gentlemen, or what is your research objective? You should be clearly you should be informed about it. Will be able to clearly state what your objectives are. This is probably the hardest part of the proposal. Once it is clear to you, then this gives you a threshold, or this gives you a starting point to move on. Examples of how not to do it is: the objective of my research is to provide a quantum leap in the design of anti-gravity boots. Well, don't get into verbosity. The goal of this project is to develop an integrated modeling tool for the hardening process. The goal of this project is this. You are using words that are basically stereotypes and not clearly defining what is the target of your project. 4 acceptable ways to do it are: the research objectives of this proposal is to test the hypothesis and then write your hypothesis. The research objective of this proposal is to measure the parameters with accuracy. Now, what are these measures and what is the accuracy that you're applying? Or the research objective of this proposal is to prove conjecture, whatever the conjecture is. Or the research objective of this proposal is to apply method from the field to problem to solve this problem, whatever the problem is. So you are giving a crystal clear idea of what your research objective is, instead of getting into wordiness. And there are other ways that you can look at the screen, the other examples. You can adopt and adapt the structure to suit your needs. Don't be wordy. Whenever you are writing the statement of your research objective, don't be wordy. That's a caution you need to be very careful about. Alright, so after this, I hope we are ready to know how can we write our summary. As I mentioned in the beginning of the talk, that although it appears on the very as first few things on the content page, the summary, however, it is written practically by the end when you are done with writing your proposal. However, you need to attach it right in the beginning because you are providing the summary of the proposal. So, how can we write a summary? Well, the most important statement is your statement of the research objective in writing your summary. So it should be sentence 1 of the paragraph 1. Do not, begin with a weather report. The sky is falling. Tools are breaking. Designs are failing. Do not begin with a State of the Union address like business is moving offshore. So try to provide the positive things and the things that address your objectives. Do not bring in negatives right in the beginning. Remember, this is not a technical paper. It is not a mystery or action story, or it's not an article, or it's not a narrative. We are writing a report, and in report we are providing a summary. So always try to locate yourself in that formal tone where you are providing the information and summarizing it by cutting short the details. So don't forget the intellectual merits and broader impact statements that you have to mention in your summary in order to entice your readers to go on with the reading. What we want to know when we are reading a summary? Well, that's very important. What is your research objective? Well, this is what directs your proposal to the appropriate program. What is your approach? What approach you are materializing? Your outline of the proposal, just 2 or 3 sentences would suffice here. Why is your contribution important to your research community? Why are you, coming forward to contribute? The intellectual merit of your work. If successful, what will be the benefit to society? The broader impact. Why is your project important to society? So summary templates usually involves the objective of this research project is to look at the screen. It gives you a kind of template that you can use as a summary template to write your summaries if you are following an unsolicited project. However, in solicited project, you are usually provided with templates. Look at how the hypothesis section is mentioned right in the beginning in the paragraph. And look at the intellectual merit paragraph, the broader impact paragraph. And all the whole, it gives you summary of the project. Now remember that your proposal will be returned without review if you fail to include explicit statements of intellectual merit and broader impact. Entitle them intellectual merit and broader impact if you want to. You use the wrong font or it is too small to read. The margins are too narrow to go around. Your biodata is incorrectly formatted. You have an unauthorized attachment. And we have been lenient in the past that are going to be the comment that you are unsuccessful in convincing your audience to accept your proposal. So the rest of your proposal are going to be 10 to 15 pages after that. If it's a long proposal, that should give you a brief, detail of your summary should give brief details of all the sections. You have to design paragraph, counting for all the sections of your proposal, and each paragraph should stand alone as for the section it is designed for. Start with a restatement of your research objective, clarify it, and provide a research plan to accomplish. You need to provide a convincing argument that you can carry out your proposal plan. Restate that and provide detail on your intellectual merit and broader impact. This is a good time to put forth your best effort, your best shot. Well, these are some of the tips on formatting that we've already discussed, and just to touch upon them once again, be particular about your font type, your font size, your figures, the tables or graphical illustrations that you are using. Everything should be legible. Do not use font size that is not good to read, whether it's too big or it's too small. In both cases, it's going to be a trouble for you. And use the required format if it is given. And then don't include letters of supporting from industry if they are not really supporting your document. And do not cut and paste together new proposals from old declined proposals, because this is going to be a point of, point that goes in against your proposal. Do not cut paste. Go for the originality and original work. Well, this brings us to the end of today's subject matter discussion, and we are ready to get into our listening and language expansion exercise. Well, today's language expansion exercise is going to be about negotiation strategy, plus how do you persuade people in order to accept your point of view that you have already pitched. Remember that this is going to be the part 2 of the listening practice that we had in the previous lecture. So in this activity audio exercise, you're going to listen to the answer to the question that you can see on the screen.
Hello and welcome back to Business English Pod. My name's Edwin, and I'll be your host for today's lesson on strategic negotiations and establishing a position. If you've had to negotiate anything, whether it's a salary, a corporate buyout, or a partnership, you're sure to understand the importance of preparation. You can't head into the room without first figuring out what you want and what you're willing to give up. And if you're doing the negotiation with a team, it's even more important. Everyone needs to know the plan and the strategy beforehand. Otherwise, you'll be looking at each other and wondering, well, what should we do now? Before a strategic negotiation, your team needs to establish its position. But what does that involve? How do we do that? In today's lesson, we'll look at some useful techniques for this situation. We'll cover summarizing key benefits, anticipating obstacles, and suggesting ways around obstacles. We'll also learn how to decide on an initial position and propose a negotiating strategy. In our last lesson, we heard Mike, the VP of Asian Sales for an American auto parts company called Sigma. He pitched the idea for a partnership to a former colleague who now works for a Japanese company called NVP. In today's dialogue, we'll hear Mike meeting with Grant, Sigma's Senior Vice President of Worldwide Sales, and Tess, who looks after the business development and legal departments. Together, they're trying to work out an initial position before heading into the negotiation with NVP. As you listen, try to answer the following questions. 1. Why does Mike mention MVP's huge volume, huge network, and strong foothold in Southeast Asia? 2. What does Mike suggest as a way around the China problem? 3. Which idea does the team agree to save for later in the negotiation?
All right, folks. Let's see what we can work out here. Tess, jump in whenever.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've seen the back and forth on the emails since we kicked this into play. But Mike, what's your take on all this?
Well, I think we're all agreed that NVP is our best bet in Southeast Asia. Huge volume, huge network, and a really strong foothold in Thailand and Malaysia, which was our original goal in all of this.
Yes, indeed. Good point.
But I think, as you've seen, they're really keen on more than just Southeast Asia. It's obvious they're pushing for a broader scope. The whole of Asia, really.
And so the issue there is China?
We're talking about Hangshan Motors, right? I don't see how we can give that up for something untested. A bird in the hand, as they say.
Well, I think maybe there is a way around this. If we buy them out, we should make it back on the NVP deal in 3 years, just from China alone. Opening up the rest of Asia on top of that puts us well ahead of the game.
I see. So you're suggesting we get out of our existing agreement? You know, if we're talking about a broader partnership, maybe we should be thinking even bigger. Lots of different possibilities here. I was thinking South America in particular.
Right. So let's make sure we've got everything straight. We're game for a partnership. We need Southeast Asia for sure. We'll say we're prepared to buy out Hangshan when they push for that. And we'll see if we can get them into our South American channels later.
Yes, I think that's a good way forward. But we'll have to look into our agreements in Brazil and Argentina more closely first. I can't pitch that with 100% confidence right now.
Yeah, definitely. And when we talk with them, let's get on the same page about partnering. Then wait for Lisa to start pushing the whole Pan-Asian thing. We can play that a bit slow and see what we can squeeze out of them. And sit on the South American idea until later. Sound like a plan?
I think that will work. We know they want to work with us, and I think we've got a good plan to see us forward.
All right, once you are done with that, I hope you'll be able to mark your answers. So this audio basically provides the techniques that you can use in order to pitch your idea and initiate a strategy, and then convince people to accept your strategies, and how can you move around the words and convince and persuade people to listen to you and then believe in it as well, and agree to you. So the discussion, getting the strategy of getting discussion going is a part of the has been a part of the discussion. Then idea initiated. You are going to listen to the next part of the talk where you will observe all these things: how the idea is initiated, how the person's take is initiated, how a person discusses his interpretations. You will also find examples. And then how can we summarize the key points to get back to what we are substantiating, and how the idea is substantiated. Again, you will have examples for that. And in this part of the talk, you will know how to provide negatives, because not all the time when you are giving an idea has all the positives. There are always negatives, but how do you talk about them, how not to glorify them, how not to maximize them, keep it in a proportion that does not affect the pluses of your idea. So starting with the but strategy and talking about potential problem, that is what you are going to listen now in this part of the discussion.
Now, let's go through the dialogue again and look at the techniques that the team used to work out their initial position.
All right, folks. Let's see what we can work out here. Tess, jump in whenever.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've seen the back and forth on the emails since we kicked this into play. But Mike, what's your take on all this?
Well, I think we're all agreed that NVP is our best bet in Southeast Asia. Huge volume, huge network, and a really strong foothold in Thailand and Malaysia, which was our original goal in all of this.
When we join the conversation, Grant is just getting the discussion going. There has been some back and forth or conversation by email on the issue since the idea was first kicked into play or initiated. And what Grant wants to start with in their discussion is Mike's take on the partnership idea. A person's take on something is their interpretation or opinion on it. Mike is keen to show that it's a good idea and outlines why MVP is their best bet, which means it's their best option among many. He mentions MVP's volume, their network, and their strong foothold to highlight the key benefits of the potential partnership. Before you decide on a position, it's a good idea to summarize key benefits like this. Let's run through some more examples of summarizing the key benefits.
So, with Keystone Industries, we'll get greater production capacity and lower operating costs.
A partnership will bring greater market share, a stronger brand image, and higher revenues.
A deal with Sweetwater should give us access to Europe and help spread our risk.
This potential partner brings a huge customer base a ton of online traffic, and some key technology.
Mike has pointed out the benefits of the partnership, but that doesn't mean he sees no problems, as we can hear.
Yes, indeed. Good point.
But I think, as you've seen, they're really keen on more than just Southeast Asia. It's obvious they're pushing for a broader scope. The whole of Asia, really.
Mike begins his next statement with but, which tells us he's about to talk about something negative or a potential problem. The issue he raises is the likelihood that MVP will push for a broader scope, meaning a deal that includes all of Asia, not just Southeast Asia, as Sigma had originally planned. The key here is that Mike is anticipating an obstacle during the negotiation. He believes MVP will want a broad deal, which is something the team will have to figure out a response to before the negotiation.
All right, so welcome back, and what you were hearing about anticipating problem. Now you will listen to that how do we anticipate problem in more detail, and how do we show our participation. So you will have some practice for it, and moreover you will learn how to how to talk about how to raise one issue, and that is you will learn with reference to the scope of the partnership proposed by the speaker, and then how to respond in an unclear situation. Most of the time when you are dealing with business, situations are not very clear. You anticipate them. You cannot be sure about them. So starting your sentence by, I think there is a way, is telling that you are not sure about the situation, but still you do not want to leave your position. You want to keep your idea on and going. So how to give pointing to solutions, and how to respond to a suggestion. You will look at these strategies applied from both sides of the discussion and conversation going on. And here you go to learn how to point solution in an unclear situation, and how to respond to then suggestions. Listen to the audio.
Anticipating obstacles is an important part of good preparation. So let's practice some more ways of doing this.
The problem here might be that they want a bigger investment than we can afford.
I can see the timeline on this being a big issue.
I don't expect they'll be willing to contribute to our upfront costs on this.
They're going to want a long-term commitment, which might not work for us.
Mike has raised the scope of the partnership as a potential obstacle. But what exactly is the problem? Let's listen.
And so the issue there is China?
We're talking about Hangshan Motors, right? I don't see how we can give that up for something untested. A bird in the hand, as they say.
The problem, as Grant and Tess suggest, is that Sigma has a deal with a Chinese company, and Tess seems hesitant to give that arrangement up or let it go for this new partnership, which she says is untested. In other words, they don't know if it's going to work out or not. It's clear that the scope of the deal is a real obstacle, but let's hear how Mike responds.
Well, I think maybe there is a way around this. If we buy them out, we should make it back on the MVP deal in 3 years, just from China alone. Opening up the rest of Asia on top of that puts us well ahead of the game.
Mike sees a way around this issue. Another way of saying this is that he sees a way to overcome the obstacle, and his suggestion is to buy the Chinese company out, or pay to get them out of their contract. Mike also outlines why this is a good way around the problem, explaining that the new deal would earn them a lot more money in the long term, putting them ahead of the game. Negotiations are full of obstacles, but a good negotiator knows how to suggest ways to overcome those obstacles, as you can see in the following examples.
The solution here might be to bring in a third partner.
We could possibly give them the timeline they need, but ask for more cash.
If we get out of our arrangement with TechMob, we could free up the time and money for this.
Maybe we could just do a 3-year deal with an option to renew.
Does Tess respond positively to Mike's suggestion?
I see. So you're suggesting we get out of our existing agreement? You know, if we're talking about a broader partnership, maybe we should be thinking even bigger. Lots of different possibilities here. I was thinking South America in particular.
All right. So after listening to the audio, you definitely would have learned how do you react and act and react in such unclear business situations. So what happens next? Now, at this point, you have been persuading, but now the persuasion and negotiation goes side by side. So make sure everyone understands how do you outline the basic idea after providing all the substantive details. How do you state the initial position that you have taken right in the beginning? How do you share agreement or disagreement in such a situation? Though this situation, there has been an agreement by the members of the conversation. And how do you add extension of the idea by stating the basic understanding and then playing it slowly, not pushing it very hard. So you propose a strategy, you negotiate for it, you take up a position, and you persuade your audience. This was the listening activity for today. You are going to listen to the last part for all these examples and strategies. Listen to it.
It sounds like Tess is coming around to Mike's idea, in part because she sees the opportunity of an even broader partnership than MVP might want. So, after discussing benefits, obstacles, and ways to overcome obstacles, what happens next?
Right. So let's make sure we've got everything straight. We're game for a partnership. We need Southeast Asia for sure. We'll say we're prepared to buy out Hangshan when they push for that. And we'll see if we can get them into our South American channels later.
At this point, Grant wants to get everything straight, or make sure everyone understands where the discussion is at. He then outlines the basic idea for everyone, which is that they are game for, or interested in, a partnership, that they'll buy out their Chinese partner and pitch an even broader partnership later. This is the team's initial position, which Grant has summarized very clearly. What are some other ways we can outline our initial position? Let's practice a few more.
So here's what it looks like. We need a 30% stake and will lend our marketing expertise to the venture.
Okay, let's push for a 5-year deal including all North American operations.
I think the idea here is that we use their production facilities and we can get their products into Asia.
All right. So we'll commit half the upfront costs and share the facility equally.
Now, let's get back to the dialogue as Tess and Mike respond to Grant's outline of their position.
Yes, I think that's a good way forward. But we'll have to look into our agreements in Brazil and Argentina more closely first. I can't pitch that with 100% confidence right now.
Yeah, definitely. And when we talk with them, let's get on the same page about partnering. Then wait for Lisa to start pushing the whole Pan-Asian thing. We can play that a bit slow and see what we can squeeze out of them. And sit on the South American idea until later. Sound like a plan?
Tess agrees that their initial position is a good way forward, or a good plan, and Mike agrees too, with the word definitely. Mike then explains what he thinks they should do when we talk with them. He's talking about what they should do during the actual negotiation, and proposes this strategy with the word let's. His idea is to get on the same page, which means come to a basic understanding, and then to play it slow, or not to be too aggressive or pushy. Then they can see what they can squeeze out of them. When we squeeze something out of someone, we use our skills of persuasion and negotiation to gain advantages for ourselves. As you can hear, Mike isn't talking about what they want, which is the position, but how they can get it, which is the negotiating strategy. This is a key discussion point in preparation for a negotiation, so let's go through some more ways we can propose a strategy.
I think we need to push hard on the money side at the start so we can gain concessions later on.
Let's just sit back and let them do the talking at first, then lay out our demands one by one.
When we sit down, let's define the scope clearly and make sure they know what's on and off the table.
We just need to play it slow, appear uncommitted, and let them sweeten the deal.
What does Grant think of Mike's proposed strategy?
I think that will work. We know they want to work with us, and I think we've got a good plan to see us forward.
It sounds like Grant agrees, and that the team is now prepared to head into the negotiation with a clear position and strategy in mind. Now, let's practice some of the language we learned in today's lesson. Imagine you are part of an internal meeting that is discussing your company's position before a big strategic negotiation. Your company manufactures clothing, while the other company has retail outlets around the world. I'll give you a cue telling you what you need to do. Then you'll hear a prompt. Use the words in the prompt to make an effective statement during the meeting. We'll guide you through each step in the practice and play an example answer for each response. Ready? Let's give it a go. First, summarize the benefits of the potential partnership.
This deal, increase, revenue, strengthen, brand. Answer. This deal would increase our revenue and also strengthen our brand.
Next, anticipate a possible obstacle to the deal.
Problem, they, want, exclusive, contract. Answer. One problem is that they might want an exclusive contract.
Now, suggest a way around the obstacle that you anticipated.
Give, rights, North America, not Europe. Answer. We could give them rights to North America, but not to Europe.
Now, state your company's initial position that you are willing to create a new line if they promote your products.
They promote products. We create new line. Answer. So they will promote our products and we will create a new line for them.
Finally, propose a strategy for the negotiation.
Let's go slow, but make demands clear. Answer. In the negotiation, let's go slow, but make our demands very clear.
Now let's practice some of the vocabulary and collocations we've covered in this lesson. In a moment, you'll hear a series of sentences with a word replaced with a beep. Repeat each sentence, including the missing word. For example, if you hear,
Our company is very to expand into South American markets.
You can say,
Our company is very keen to expand into South American markets.
after each response, we'll play the correct answer. Let's begin.
I decided to buy my partner and run the business myself. Answer. I decided to buy my partner out and run the business myself.
Firstly, let's all get on the same about what we have to discuss. Answer. Firstly, let's all get on the same page about what we have to discuss.
We have a very strong in Europe, but we don't do much business in Asia. Answer. We have a very strong foothold in Europe, but we don't do much business in Asia.
If you sell your stocks while they're high, you'll be way ahead of the Answer. If you sell your stocks while they're high, you'll be way ahead of the game.
We've reached the end of this lesson, the second in our series on strategic negotiations, in which we focused on establishing an initial position. We've learned how to summarize key benefits, anticipate obstacles, and suggest ways of overcoming those obstacles. We've also covered how to decide on an initial position and propose a negotiating strategy. For more practice, premium members can access the online quizzes and study notes for this and other episodes in the new Learning Center. Not a member yet? Then head over to www.businessenglishpod.com and sign up for a free trial to preview some of the extra resources available to members. Thanks for listening, and see you again soon.
Alright, so this was all for today's listening activity, and this was all for today's subject matter discussion as well. What we learned in today's lecture was proposal writing. We tried to connect our discussion with where we left in the last lecture and moved on with the common section of proposal. We talked about appendixes, the requirements and the standards. We talked about organizational and formatting concerns. We talked about the letter cover or memo cover formats, and we had our writing workshop of proposal writing. Then negotiation and persuasion strategy was the topic of our listening and language expansion activity today. This was all for today's lecture. I will see you inshallah in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.